All right, and we are live. Welcome to the BrainDrive weekly development call live stream. We do these calls every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Got a little toothpaste there. And our mission here at BrainDrive is to build a superior user-owned alternative to big tech AI systems. I'm Dave Waring, and I handle the operations side here at BrainDrive.
And I'm David Jones, and I handle the technical side of the operations here at BrainDrive.
Great. So normally these calls would go into an overview of the system and how it all works, et cetera, and then talk about the progress on developing that system from last week and then planning out the development roadmap for the coming week. But last week, there's been so much change in the AI space since OpenClaw was released and sort of the what that means for the future of user-owned AI, where people's appetite is for this, which
Hmm.
on the positive front is accelerated dramatically. When we first started working on this, not many people, outside of the Reddit forums were talking about local AI. And now, although they may not refer to it as local AI, one of the things people are really excited about with tools like OpenClaw is the ability to run it on your own computer. So, the market has sort of come to the place where we were hoping it would come, and it's come there much faster. And so that's kind of caused us to sort of reassess where we're at with BrainDrive and what we want to be doing, and whether or not the technical foundation is set up to make sure it's the right foundation to build on. So that's what we were discussing last week, and we were trying to build out and leverage the agentic capabilities that are now available with some of the state-of-the-art tool calling models to better uh, personalize your brain drive, to add sort of I wouldn't necessarily call it memory, but it acts as memory and
Yep,
allows you to build and uh, really feed context into your AI system, whether that's BrainDrive or another AI system, and make those responses very personalized to your specific use case and your goals, and then also to make it a compounding asset, which is what we've always been building towards. It's here, we're excited, and now we need to take a look at, are we building on the right foundation? So
yep.
with that, I'll turn it over to Dave.
Well, like Dave said, it's like a reassessment because when we started BrainDrive, it was a lot of crystal ball. It's like because very little information was out there as far as what people would want. We were right about local. We were right about kind of how we wanted to go do about it. But as with any project, a year, we had a few pivots. We had a few things that we wanted to do X, Y, Z because at that time, Docker was like most normal users, like I'd rather not. If I have to see Docker, I'll walk away. We learned that from other projects, not just our own. Now, Docker is kind of creeping back into a little thing where people are like, oh, that's easier to run actually with Docker. I just got to sign up once. It's like rather than install everything on your local PC. And of course, the file system. Everybody a year ago was on, you had not just only databases, but vector databases. And it's like you couldn't do anything without a vector database. Now it's like everybody's like, I don't really need a RAG system. That's really a heavy lift. But if you give me this markdown file, I know what to do with that every day of the week. And it doesn't matter who you are. It's just English or whatever your native language is, and you can really get by. And any agent now can read that. AI has been trained day in and day out what to do with a markdown file. So it's like if you just say, "Hey, I want to see my information in Markdown," it doesn't blink. It doesn't add, well, which standard or anything like that. You just get the results and it works. So that in an attempt to also move towards a direction that Dave uses personally with his own system that he's developed, not really owned, you copied from renowned methodologies. And he even copied some of mine or asked me how I do it. And then he went to the well of other people and business leaders and how they put their systems together. And Dave came up with his own. And in an effort to turn that into an agentic life form, so to speak, we realized BrainDrive may not be able to handle that kind of lift at this time, or maybe ever. We really, but that caused us to take a pause and go, hey, wait a minute. If this is the goal, how would we do that differently now and try to leverage everything we've learned, everything tech has to offer, and a little bit of crystal ball so that in a very short time period, we can put together some results, something that we could build upon then to get somewhere back in the direction of where either A, where we were, or B, where the next turn is going to be. Because that's going to be, I think the key is, okay, we're here now, but we all know with AI, in 2 months or a month, there's going to be a new little thing pop up and everybody's going to be like, we're doing this now. So we want to be ready for that kind of thing.
Right. And I would just say, I think the the agentic capabilities from a coding standpoint, came faster than I think everybody thought in terms of how good they are.
Yep.
Last year when we started this, it was a fancy autocomplete and people said they were building applications and stuff, but like
Yeah.
as soon as you poked at anything anyone was building that wasn't a developer, it completely fell apart. And while we're not 100% of the way there yet, to anybody being able to build anything, it feels like we went from like 0% of the way there to like 80% of the way there in the last year. And, it also seems like that progress is not only not slowing down, but it's actually speeding up.
Yep.
So we need to make sure, I think, um, that the most important thing is not whether BrainDrive will do this specific new features and functionality that I'm looking for, but is it a foundation that will evolve at the speed of AI, which is breakneck?
Yeah.
And if we're having to spend a lot of time refactoring or doing things in a different way every time there's a new change, we're going to fall further and further
Yep.
behind as a part of that process. So yes, I want to be able to do my specific
Yep.
use case, and I think it's going to be a very powerful use case.
Yep.
But before we even get into that, my thing is like, is this foundation that we have currently designed to evolve at a breakneck pace?
I would have to go with no, just based on my own experience the last 2 weeks trying to put your filing system in there. And you did the specs, so that I'm going to go with the fact that your specs are as close to a line with what you do and what you envision. And I thought that was a very good platform to start with. And trying to codify even that in BrainDrive, I was basically in 2 weeks able to get to about 60%. Even though it was like they would say, "Hey, we did user story number one to 100%," as we did a test, and I went back through it and got another AI to give its opinion. In a lot of cases, we were only like 60%, 60 to 70, sometimes as high as 80, sometimes as low as 50 depending upon what was targeted. So that, in a very honest assessment, no, it was, and how much more heavy lifting would it take to get there would be a complete unknown. Each user story could be another week, to
Okay.
try to iron
So
out.
why, from an architectural standpoint, why are we running into this issue?
Well, we were targeting initially and building forward, and even with every time we had a small little pivot, we were handling them. But then all of a sudden, OpenClaw, and that's where I'll put it at. OpenClaw turned it in a very different direction. Everything. If you were, I'll call it front end specific. In other words, you wanted the user to see these UIs and like that. OpenClaw showed everybody you don't need that. You walk away from it. When it came down, it's like, hey, these files are human readable. If the AI can't understand and recode something in a blink. And that's what I think OpenClaw, the specialty of that was it can go, hey, I want to do this now. And OpenClaw, hold my beer. I got that for you. And next thing you know, it has this little agent spin up, whatever little, as long as you didn't get, we're not talking rocket science here. It's just, hey, go check a website. Is it up for me? Grab the content for me. I want to know what the DAO is right now. Those kind of things. It did. And that's what the normal person wants. They don't want to put a rocket into space. They want to just know what's my weather and keep me
Yeah.
updated if there's any change.
And why is BrainDrive not architected to be able to do that? What is it about the tech stack?
The tech stack is semi fine. Like we've always you always quiz me. It's like, hey, if I would do something different at this point, what would I do? And I gotta say, it's like I took the weekend and I played around with like different code. I would do the same thing OpenClaw did, but with a different engine. They use Pi. to handle their agentic, and I'm going to recode myself and build it like that, I would go in a different direction because then in the begin, but either way, we're the same. In the middle is this little engine that sits there and it says, okay, you want me to do XYZ? I can do that. And instead of having to build it all yourself, you're leveraging somebody else's power to do this. And they've spent the 2 years building that up for you. And now you're leveraging that strength. But that important thing is the ability for your orchestration layer that sits around it to be able to communicate with it and say, I have a new instruction that we didn't intend to do. And for it to go, that's fine. I'll put this over here, and or the ability to say, hey, I did something last week, to record it, to keep it in memory, not just for you, but even for the AI to go, okay, that's what we did that time. And now the user will just say, hey, I want to do something similar, but XYZ. And for it to not have to go, can you remind me or anything like that? It knows where to look, what I did. It says, okay, XYZ, now they want this. Let me just rebuild that for you. Or let me
Okay.
ask, go ahead.
So is another way to say this that um, when we first were building BrainDrive, the idea was making it as easy as possible for humans to modify and build on top of their BrainDrive.
Yep.
And now what's changed is it's the agent that's doing that. And so a lot of the things that we've built are no longer necessary, number one. And number two, they're actually getting in the way of doing this agentic
Yep.
development on BrainDrive.
Yeah, because when we first started, I think we were like 4 months into BrainDrive, and you asked, "Hey, would it be possible for us to where I put in a prompt and I say, hey, I want to plug in to do XYZ, whatever it was." And I said, yeah, we'd especially at that time with AI, we'd probably have to do it in layers. The first thing would be, a template we'd have to build, and so that we could do that. And then we need the models to catch up quite a bit. And that
Right.
all came smashing through, but it was always this is what the user wants to
Right.
see and stuff like that. Now it is the user wants something to be done and
Yeah.
not seen. It's like if they got a little status as OpenClaw, if they got a status on Telegraph or Discord or WhatsApp that says, hey, I just checked your flight, it's still on time,
Yeah.
they're happy.
Yeah, I mean, I still think the dashboards are going to
No,
be a thing, but they're not going to be as big of a thing as, these other things. Just talk to it is going to be bigger.
exactly. And
Okay.
the go ahead.
Okay. And then, I guess the final question on Brain Drive is, so why not just build in this agentic capability and get rid of, you know, everything, I don't know this. I'm sure there's a good technical reason for this, but as a non-technical person, well, okay, just start using this new engine instead
Okay, I will
and
take a
keep
no.
everything
Yep.
else, would be the question.
I'll give you a non-technical answer. You've been
Yeah.
writing a book and you're halfway through and you realize, oh my God, that plot line kind of sucks.
Yeah.
You can't go, okay, in the middle of the book, Jimmy is now going to go off into this adventure for some ring that he's never heard of
Okay, I
before. And
got you. That makes
yeah,
sense. Okay. So it's all good. Things are changing quickly. I get it. For me personally, though, this has been, when I started this journey 2 years ago, before we even met, I was trying to build my own system. Then I
hmm
was like, this is not working, so I need to pivot. I went to Open Web UI. That's when we started working
yeah,
together. Then we were like, okay, this is not working. We need to pivot. We pivoted to Brain Drive, and now this is not working, and I need to pivot again. So I think your book analogy is a good one, which is we need the next pivot needs to be the pivot that causes us never to have to pivot the plot line again, right?
yes,
So we
yep,
have to choose a plot line that is designed to change, right? Because um the one thing we know we don't it's very hard to predict what and
yeah,
then also when
yeah,
things are going to be changing with AI, right? It's a
yep,
new thing. We can make our best guesses, but the one thing that we can, I think, be sure of at this point is it's going to be very different in the future than it is today. And
yep,
so if we are building, we need to do two things. We need to build use cases that work today, but build them on a foundation that is ready for whatever use cases come in the future. And that's what we don't have now. And it's fine, but that's a year or more of work that
Yep.
we're throwing out the window. And we still, it put us that work put us in the position to be way ahead of whatever we decide to do next. So it's not like the last year was wasted by any stretch, but I don't think we, have another we're not gonna have another opportunity to do this.
No. And for me, an complete agreement. And one of the biggest changes is not only the environment, what the environment allows us to do. And I think it comes down to the word leverage. Is when we first started this, there was nothing to really leverage. Now there are tools out there to leverage. And like you speaking to that, it's like we want to be in a position where we're not trying to build an entire boat. We want the engine already there so that we don't have to go in and day out. It has to have the capability to evolve with us as we move forward and us not spending that time to do that. So it has to be ready and able to say, hey, we want to do XYZ today. I'm going to hand this to you. You run, and it does that consistently every day. We handle the orchestration layer of the communication, which is that right on top of that engine. And that's not the heavy lift, really, because that engine is the heavy lift. Well, as we're doing is we're going, hey, I want to talk to you through a prompt. It goes through the orchestration layer where your business logic is, and then it hands to the engine to get the AI responses and stuff like that. We,
So
a, ye-
how this is good. I mean, it's the
yeah,
ground like these are all the things that I agree we need the system to be able to do. But how can we be as sure as we can possibly be that no matter where AI goes in the future, we will be able to change the plot of our story, right?
yep.
However that plot needs to change in the future.
Whatever tools we choose to leverage, first of all, has to be open source. It has to. So if they veer because of their methodology changes or something like that, um, great, go ahead. We have our own fork of your work, and we can continue forward, or just stay right there for a moment because if it's working for us, we're good. But also, in the same time, of leveraging that, if the AI turns and goes, okay, we're going to head this direction now because concrete clause, the big thing. It, they're going to change. They're going to have to change that too. So we can start working on an orchestration layer at the same time they're working on the engine. So we really will have an entire dev team built working and helping us with the engine while we're doing our little small part of the orchestration or the logic layer. If it even needs to be changed, sometimes it's like you could have a pivot where the engine needs to be changed, but how information is handed off will always be the same.
Okay. So it
So it
sounds like
comes down to leverage. It comes down to leveraging, picking a tool base that we want to leverage their functionality that seem to be on target and has the ability to adjust when these changes do take place.
okay. So it sounds like we're on the same page that before we build anything, we need to make sure that we're building on the right
Yep.
foundation. Okay. So that's job number one. And
Yep.
we don't have to necessarily build or have a tool that has everything that we want it to have now and in the future. What's more important that it allows us to easily do what we want to do today, which is just this one library use case that
Yep.
you've been working on. And two, that we're very confident that whatever we want to add in the future, it's flexible enough to do that. And that if we need to throw away something in the future and add something else in, it's not like removing the foundation from a house where we have to tear the
Yep.
whole house down.
Yeah, that's why it's like if you build it in layers, everything is a communication or a handoff between each piece. So if one
And it
piece has
sounds
to,
like that's what we were trying to do with BrainDrive, right? Like that
well, yeah,
this doesn't sound all that different
no,
than what we were trying to do with front end, back end plugins and service bridges,
yep,
right?
yep,
But
yep,
what's
very true.
different now is the agentic piece.
The agentic piece, and nobody is hitting hardcore on the front end anymore, where we had spent so much effort and energy because that's what was big. Everybody was like spending so much time. It doesn't matter which type of tool, it was like the front end was getting so much work because it was passed because the AI, the back end was nothing more than an AI pass through. let me talk to the model. I'll take this and I'll give it back to you. Now, the back end is the pivotal focus because it doesn't need to do just pass it off to the AI. It needs to be able to do something with this. It needs to be able to, not just because you did something, it can go, oh, okay, I put this work in there. 10 minutes later, I'm going to check to see if it's done. And when it's done, then I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to the other agent so it can do its job. And you're out on the ball field watching your kid
So
play.
we need a new, a new project, which is what is the architecture and how does that work in this new world?
We've
And how does
already,
that
yep.
continuously evolve with us?
Um, we've already started playing with open code. And I can't figure out so far in all my little research of everything even close to why you would pick something else. It has everything that Claude has. And Claude, to me, far at this point in time as a tool, Claude Code
Cloud code.
is far better than everything else is out there as far as the we'll call it the frontier company, the large big tech companies. They have skills. They didn't have skills when we started. Plugins, they already have the architecture. If we needed to adapt theirs to work with us, we wouldn't even have to worry about adding a contribution code to the entire project. That's where plugins come into play, where we can just leverage some code similar to Nav doing when Nav was doing BrainDrive code. He had to leverage both skills and a plugin so that he could guardrail his architecture, that intent that he was desiring to put in place. So he was like the first step there, based on all of our communication, and he showed that he can do we had a dream right there, and he could bend it to its will because of the SDK that it had in place. And all it is a programmatic interface of, hey, this is what I want to do. And it says, okay, it doesn't argue with you. It just says that's what we're doing. And we want to be able to leverage that in addition to leveraging the skills so that, like you have noticed with Claude Code, the skill system is wonderful. Put an interviewer, you're gone. Put a spec builder, it's like do it one time. It's there and it's ready to be used, and consistently. And that's that big thing with AI. It's great if it works once, but this thing has to be something reproducible 20 times and always getting what your desired output is supposed to be. Um, so that's why it's like I still can't find a way from an OpenClaw also has MCP servers for when we get into content management. There are a lot of good MCPs out there for doing that for you. So all of a sudden with one tool, we're getting skills. If we need to do something crazy, we have plugins and we have MCP servers to leverage to do different things just in case whatever comes in mind.
Okay, so um so we toss the brain drive code. We're
Yep.
keeping all of our learnings. We toss the brain drive code and what? We just start using open code or what are we doing?
I would probably start with the first thing would be just a simple script. At the end of the day, not get crazy, a simple script that has open code sitting there, has skills sitting there, and proof of concept. Can I say, hey, talk to the interviewer? I'm going to give you a subject. You interview me. It's as simple as that. No interface, just a terminal prompt. If that starts to show life where we want it to be, then we know we have a pathway right there.
Okay.
Now take the interview, turn it into a spec doc because they have spec skills as well. They have a planning skill. And if that's simple from a interview to a spec doc to a plan, right there. I know outside of that we have to build queuing, which is nothing difficult. It's been done a number of times. We'll have to build agent rules. So the agent that is interviewing, he can do its job of interviewing and all like that, and it hands off to the second agent, which handles, okay, I'm going to build you a spec doc. Let's build a digest now because, hey, we're doing work, but we want to always know our work each day. We don't have to go find 50 files that were, like that. Um, the ability to have a conversation about what you're working on, take input from experts, be it, a document or another AI or a human being, and then take that transcript and turn it into additional information for your various projects. To steal your term, cross-pollination, because it can go through all your little projects and it can go, hey, I have a little piece of information here. Let's add to there. And that just a building, and it would be a really quick few days at max proof of concept. Does this work? Because once
Okay.
that works right there, then you know your hard part can be done. You're not like, oh my God, we ran into something that we didn't anticipate.
Yeah, that, I mean, definitely if it can't do the use case that we want it to do, it's not a great option. But does that get us information that the thing that I want to avoid is, okay, it works for that, but then we build that out and we build other use cases, and then we got a bunch of users on it, and then it's like, oh, it can't do this new thing, or they've stopped developing it, or all those
Yeah.
types of things like that we can't foresee and predict with 100% accuracy right now. What information do we get if we do that proof of
Okay.
concept that this is a foundation that we can be confident to build on this time, and that we're not
Yeah.
having the same conversation, which again is now my like this is
Your third time, fourth time?
correct.
um, yeah, you can only bet on the horse that you see. And I'm going with the fact that it has, and the past track record of OpenClaw, no, Open Code. They have adopted with Claude very well. When Claude added skills, they added skills. Claude added plugins, they added plugins. So they already have a track record of following the premier horse in that race. So I think that is, something, okay, you could put that feather or that check in that pros box and all like that. It is open source. If for some wild reason all the contributing editors and programmers die out, leave, go do something else, whatever the reason might be, it's open source. And the way models are getting, and like simply the RAG system that we had to take a code base that I wasn't familiar with and adopt it. We can do that. It's not, especially with AI, that gets easier and easier and
Okay,
easier.
so I just want to make sure that I'm understanding, and also for anybody that's watching,
Yeah.
the big difference is the ability to use for agents to use tools to do things.
Hmm.
And we need an engine that is designed around that,
Yep.
right? It is like the whole thing is it's not just agents using tools to do things for the library concept, which is how I'm using it. And what
Yep.
we're trying to build is V1, like it traversing the file system, it adding and subtracting. But that it's that for everything in the future, right? So it is, I want to build a website, I want to code, I want this thing to go book me a flight. I want it to eventually be in a robot that does things. It's all about before it was just about the intelligence. Now it's about this intelligent thing can now use tools, and this is one thing I do think we can be fairly confident of is that was the blast off for humans is tool
Yep.
use, right? And so it is all about tool use,
Yep.
yes.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And so
Because
we need to make sure that the foundation that we're choosing is uh you know a solid foundation as the tool engine.
yep. And the next step we could already almost see, especially when I look at your filing system, how you've orchestrated, the next system is almost as plain as day. When you get to that plan, you should be able to tell that system at that next turn, do it. Be it a website, I'm booking a flight, like for my hotel, or you have a vacation 2 weeks, you have the entire plan like that. This is what I'm doing. At some point, you should be able to say, okay, take care of all the reservations. Let me know if there's any issues and look for the lowest cost too as well. Because I'm moving a family of four. That's more expensive on an airplane. Do the right things that a human would do. Do the due diligence. The only difference is you have tools to take your plan from a sitting document to action.
Okay. So Claude Code right now can obviously do everything that we want it to do because I'm using it
Yep.
for this use case. Um,
The only thing it can't do right now is like I said, that part that we would have to build that it does the things on your behalf, not with you having to tell it to do that. Like digest and take the transcript. It should be something as simple as a transcript hits the directory and agent sees it, grabs it, and goes with it, and starts cross
Well,
pollination of
it
the.
will, Claude Code will do that.
Oh, well, okay.
I have to fire a skill manually right now, but my understanding is it would be pretty trivial. And actually, I have a daily digest that runs on my computer in the background
Yep.
that fires at 9 a.m. every morning as long as my computer's on and it does the digest.
Yep.
So, in my opinion, right now for the library use case, if all it ever did was this for the
Yep.
library use case, like Claude Code can do it.
Yep.
Um, so it's possible that open code can just do it too, right? Because
Yes.
it doesn't seem like what I'm doing here is very complicated, especially when you compare it to like coding and stuff.
Correct.
Okay. So
And that's another thing why open code is because if you can handle code,
let's just
anything else.
assume, I know we're going to test all this,
Yep.
obviously. We're
Yeah.
not just going to go for it on assumption, but let's just assume for this conversation, open code can do it all,
Yep.
right? What do we have to do? We just say, great, let's just use open code. It's open source. We can brand it BrainDrive or
Yep.
not. We can have BrainDrive tools around. We can be an open code, contributor. Like there's also, why not just use open code?
Because you could. For the average user, though, they need their handheld. And that's the part that we would have to just the orchestration layer built around open code.
Okay.
And that's all we're doing. We're not trying to rebuild open code. We're just that layer that and simply talks to the SDK of open code. And it says, hey, my user wants, or the user XYZ wants to start a project. The user doesn't need to know all the ins and outs and stuff like that. It should be able to, that's what
Okay,
the,
so we're gonna put an abstraction layer on top of open code to make it easier for the average person who's not a coder to use it. Is
yep,
that what I'm hearing?
yes, yes, yes,
Okay. And so we are gonna have an interface.
yes. Yeah, but
Okay.
that will be separate from the abstraction layer now, because the abstraction layer will just simply be when it comes down to the word logic. That will be able to take adapters, be it a CLI adapter. I'm going to work from a terminal. You could have a headless adapter so that you can work from scripts. So that when you get to that agentic material that everybody wants to be at, you can have open code, create a script, and tell an agent you need to run this. And it will run it against itself because it'll call the headless, and suddenly you've inherited all your logic. So if you have rules sitting here that, hey, we're a secure environment. Don't go messing with the user's directory. Don't go poking around here. You're not allowed to run these programs. All of that will be taken into account. So you have security and you have permissions in effect throughout the entire running of your agents that you want to impose. So that would be like, then a web interface. Let's say you want a dashboard. And to me, all of this, like that circle that I just painted, it has to work all the way. Because if the user says, hey, I'm planning this vacation, it's done all the work for me, scheduled everything. Now I want to see a dashboard that just shows me that everything's still booked. There's no delays in flights. Is there anything even show me the weather for where I'm going so I can anticipate what that's going to be like and pack correctly. An agent should be there to build that dashboard for you, personalized, to show it to you so that you can say, hey, show me the trip to the
Okay,
dashboard to my trip.
that's great.
Yep.
And we do want to do all that. But for the library V1 use case,
Yep.
assuming open code can do everything that we need it to do, we need to build an interface.
Yep. At the bare minimum, a CLI. That way, because if we get the CLI working, we can grow from there. And that CLI will basically be what you're using now, but with all the harnesses and the orchestration layer in front.
And is that a big project to build that, a small project?
Probably medium at best. I don't want to go so small because I want to say it's small, but medium at best, especially because I don't fully grasp everything you do, and I'd want to grasp that before I nail it down. That's why I'm just a medium.
Okay. And um, so the idea would just be leverage open code, use the AP, like use the API. Is that the API,
Well, they
the
call it an
software
SD. They call it an SDK.
SDK,
Yep.
and we're leveraging they're the back end basically, and we're
Yep.
still building the front end.
Yep. And the orchestration, the logic layer.
Okay, I guess that's the part. The logic, it's not being handled by open code or
No, because see, open code has no permissions at the end of the day. It's like it's almost like OpenClaw in some ways or Claude and like that. It just can at the end of the day can run amok if you
okay.
really wanted to. That's where your logic comes in to say, okay, you said I need approval to write this. So I'm going to ask you now, is it okay if I write in your project directory? And you say yes. And then you,
Okay. And so there needs to be, whether it's open code or we
yep,
build something from zero or we use something else, there needs to be this agentic tool layer that is orchestrating the entire system.
yep, yes,
That's the
yep,
right way. If I
yep,
said that to a developer, they'd be like, yes, I
yep,
know what you're talking about.
yep,
Okay. And OpenClaw, Claude
open code.
Code is this orchestration system.
Yep,
Codex is this orchestration system. Open Code is this orchestration
yep,
system. Windsurf is this
yep.
orchestration system. Aider is this orchestration system.
Cursor.
Cursor is this orchestration system. Um, uh, that's what these things are. And
Yep,
and we're saying, and I think most people are saying, this is for coding, but it's for also for everything else. It's just
yep,
more mature in coding, right?
yes, yep,
Okay. Because they were built into coding tools, but like this agentic capability that people are using for coding, it's going to be for everything.
yes,
Okay. And so if you want to have a system, you got to have this harness is
yep,
also,
yep,
it's called
yep,
a harness.
yep,
Okay. All right. So um, one way to do this, it seems like it's very clearly just use one of the code. Like if we didn't give a shit about open source, just build it on top of Claude code,
yep,
right? And
yeah.
use their SDK and like fuck it, it already does everything I want it to do. It's just we can't own and control it, right?
I do not know if they have an SDK.
Okay.
Okay,
Let's
but
pretend
yeah,
like they did.
they
They
probably like
they
they
had
do,
an SDK. We can leverage all of the tool calling and all of the harness and all that
and
type of
that
stuff.
would
If you
violate a pillar very
We're
easily.
not doing that. I'm just trying to
Yeah,
understand.
yeah,
We're
yeah,
definitely not doing that
yeah,
because otherwise, let's just build on, let's just use
yeah,
Claude code. You
yeah.
know what I'm saying? There's no
Yep,
point in doing anything if we're just going to do that. And we could build a business off of that. In fact, that would be the fastest path to a lot of money, and that's why everybody's pounding Claude code and everything because you sell the course, everybody's using Claude code. It's great. Let's
yep,
lock everybody into the new Facebook, and then they'll fuck everybody. I mean,
yep,
we've seen that movie played out, but you can't make a lot of money in
yep,
the short term, right?
yes,
So we're not doing that. I'm just trying to understand.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but we could just do that.
yep,
Okay. Now, it seems like, and if you need to research this, no, I'm not trying to
yep.
put you on the spot. But it seems like OpenClaw
Open
has
code,
said, huh?
open code or open claw.
No,
Okay,
open code is with Claude code and
yeah,
Windsurf and Cursor and all
yep,
that type of stuff.
yep,
It seems like to me, OpenClaw has said, we're not doing it that way. We agree that you need all this tool
yep,
calling and this orchestration layer, but the way you guys are doing it, we're not doing it that way.
yep,
We're going to do it this way, and it's based on this thing called Pi.
yep,
And what Pi is said, we're going to make this tool orchestration thing as simple and thin as we can make it. And its goal is just to get that what an agent is. It's almost like going back to the human example. It's the hands, right? It's
yep,
like it's the thing that allows you to pick up a tool. And we're not going to tell you, we're not going to give you the tools. We're not going to define the tools in the code base or anything like
yep,
that. We're going to give you the hand to go out and pick up the hammer.
yep.
But then you can also use that same hand to grab a wrench or to drive a car or to do all the things that humans do.
Now, I'm not saying no to that because you can. That's the other. That's that pie.
Well,
That's why.
before we
Yep.
get into is
Yep.
that the right thing to do, let's just make sure we
Yep.
understand what they're doing, or I
When you
do.
head, yeah, when you head that route, you because as clean as with as little as possible. That's their motto, and they succeeded at that. But they gave away security, which is important. And I don't know if you've read the article, but when in January with OpenClaw, and they were dealing with Bitcoin, and I don't know if you
Yeah,
might have.
I understand
Yep.
they have tons of security issues. So how does this how did they give away, how did Pi give away security?
because they didn't have to worry about it. Their
There is
thing.
no security. It
There
just,
is none. Can
you
you
can pick up
call
any tool. And by the way, anybody else can come in your garage and pick up your tool
that
too. And yeah,
exactly? They didn't say no. We only you have to
there's
have this
no
kind of
locks or
connection.
keys for the car. It's just, it's sitting out there running in the driveway
When
and
you
anyone
boot
can
it
jump
up,
into it.
it's like you went out to start your car on a cold morning and you
Yeah.
walked away with your keys
And the
inside it.
door
That
opens.
is OpenClaw
Okay. All right.
right there.
All right. So when they're saying, so basically it comes down to security. Is
Yeah,
that
yep. The
okay? So
security,
there's no,
yep,
yeah.
and like with we'll call it the top line OpenClaw, Claude, Codex, all of those same systems. They have built guardrails in for what their agents can and can't do. They need security to do X, Y, Z. They've formatted. This is what skills are. So they followed Codex and how, or not Codex. They followed Claude and what they invented. MCPs, same thing. They know how they're built. They follow the same specs. That's how they are. And this puts them in an environment where they can readily grab these tools sitting out there and leverage them. Whereas you have Pi is almost like I said, willy-nilly. It's like we're not going to worry about all this stuff. You could give it a foreign MCP server that doesn't do anything except that's normal, and we'll still talk to that thing. It's like it doesn't matter. And that's a power
So let me
and
play devil's advocate
yep,
on this. Just not that I know even, I don't necessarily even feel this, but in terms of, you know, it feels to me like open code, if we were comparing open code and Pi and trying to decide which one to make the hand that
yep,
grabs the tools, that's what we're talking
yep,
about, right? Um, what open code gets us is a lot more tools and people using those tools and how to pick it up and how to do that securely and how to put a lock on a car and make it so you can't start the engine without the key and a bunch of that stuff.
yep,
But it also like, so that's like the horse that we can see now, like you're saying.
yep,
But it also feels like Pi, we're giving up a lot of that, but what we're getting is it's just the hand. And so we know we're going to need a hand,
yep.
but we're not sure exactly what that hand's going to be doing in the future. And Pi might give us more flexibility to change as the market changes.
That's why I say we start with not the whole concept. We start with just a small script. Like with OpenClaw, same thing with Pi. Can you simply, I want to talk to you. I want to get you to, here's my project. Here's my interview. Can you follow structure? Can you follow the logic? Can you give me what I want to do? Like it's really quick. All it is a proof of concept, and you do it quickly. It is not meant to take a lot of time to put into action. And then you can adjust, then you can compare apples to apples. Is it doing what I want? Can we apply security to Pi? Because that might be something that we can easily determine. Hey, if we build you this way,
Okay, let me give you another scenario. Let's say
yep,
we decide, hey, we're just gonna open code does the library, we're gonna use it. Let's get
yep,
it launched, right? And then 3 months from now, it's like we need to go with Pi.
yep.
Can we do that or not? Are we
Um,
flexible?
as long as we understand, like first of all, because you can only go by what you know. So the first thing I would do is when we do these proof of concepts, I would look at the similarities between that initial handshake, the one between our orchestration layer and open code, and then the orchestration layer for Pi. And if we can get them to the point where they're very similar, or a small adapter is necessary because you're not going to Pi's not going to give me everything in JSON like I need it. So I would have just a small little layer that sits there and goes, okay, whatever you give me, I'm going to wrap up and then hand it but to the orchestration layer.
Okay.
And
So basically the next step, and for next Monday, we can say we've tried open code, we've done this test, and we've answered these questions,
yep.
right? All right, great. Anything else to talk about in today's live stream?
Um Not really talk about, just I agree with you, like the article we were talking about earlier, how prevalent the file system is becoming. It's like if you are still bogged down by databases for your context, you're a step behind.
Which is
You're
awesome because it's way easier to work with a file
yep,
system than it is. I mean, that's to me the thing that I'm most excited about is what you just said because if we didn't need to get the foundation right, I think we're already doing it,
Yep.
like with the library. So like it wouldn't, but it's important that we get the foundation right. But
Yep.
yeah, that's super exciting. All right, cool. So unless there's anything else, we'll wrap the live stream
Nope.
there.
I'm good.
Alrighty. As we discussed, we do these calls every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern. We'd love it if you join us for the live stream. They're open to participation from all. You can also join us at our community over at community.braindrive.ai, where we post the recordings as soon as they're done processing and participate there or in both. Our mission here at BrainDrive is to build a superior user-owned alternative to big tech AI systems, and we'll see you next week.
Have a good one.
Thank you.